All right, it's been a little over a year since I posted the video where I purchased this Diamondback Toolbelt. So I figured it's been about a year, so I'm going to do a review on how it's held up, what I liked and didn't like about it maybe. I've added a few things to it since that other video. If you haven't seen that one, you probably want to go back and watch that one first, and then come back to this one and watch this one, because this is where I bring it all together. So you're going to want to watch both. Anyway, I'll give you kind of like a grand tour of the tool belt, if you will, or cared. If not, you can fast forward. That's fine. But I'll show you kind of what I use, and before I do that though, I'll explain kind of what I do, because this tool belt, one thing I like about it is there's lots of accessories. You know, girls like to accessorize and do their hair and wear makeup and buy fine jewelry and things. Well, this is a construction man's fine jewelry here. So you can accessorize it, and I've done that. So I do a lot of remodeling. I build a lot of decks. I've done a couple additions, if you will. I build cabinets out of my shop, which I don't really wear this for that. But this tool belt sees a lot of different types of work. Siding, some roofing. I do a little bit of everything in this area. It's even seen drywall, but it didn't like that, and neither did I. But that's because that's drywall. So anyway, I like this tool belt because you can set it up a lot of different ways, and it fits a lot of different people and a lot of different trades. So this is like my basic setup, and I swap and do things differently depending on what the job calls for of each day. As you can see, first and foremost, I do have these suspenders. I have, it's weird, in north central Ohio, like every like late fall, winter time, this tool belt starts to get like a little bit more snug. It's like it shrinks or something. I don't know, it's probably the weather. And so I kind of need these suspenders. And then throughout like the summer, you know, the spring going into the summer and through, it gets a little bit looser as it goes. And then that next winter again, usually around Thanksgiving and when Christmas cookies come out, it starts to get a little more snug again. So anyway, as you can see, my body type, I need suspenders. So I'm at that point. So working the other way, but I'll probably still keep these because they're kind of nice anyway. So let me bring you in here a little closer and show you what we're working with. I did forget to mention earlier, this is the Chapo tool belt, and then obviously I added the suspenders to it as well. And some of these other accessories I'll go through kind of as I go through the belt. But anyway, so it's the Chapo. Usually I carry a tape measure here. My go-to, usually 25. Milwaukee or a Fat Max a lot of time. Speed square, 6-inch speed square. Then I got the smaller speed square, which I used to see people carry this, and I thought, that's dumb. Why would you carry two? Ever since I started carrying one, I never realized how often I needed one that was slightly smaller to get into places where the 6-inch was too long. So that goes in its own slot as well. Pry bar, I usually always have this one or my stainless steel flat pry bar. I'm usually use that for trim more. Right now I'm doing like a interior remodel and some framing, so this one comes in more handy than the other one. I'm a guy that doesn't like to carry around a bunch of extra weight if I don't have to. So that's why I'm working on my belly. So that's extra weight I'd like to not carry around. Nail punch or nail set is in here. Just your basic nail punch. I did have a couple of the, I forget what they're called, but they're like spring loaded and you can pull it back and let it go. I actually prefer those much better than these. However, you know how tools sometimes grow legs and walk off of job sites into other people's equipment. So I'm not sure where that is. So I need to replace that. Down here in this bottom pouch, little piece of sandpaper. You never know when you're going to need that. And chalk line. I'm rocking the red right now. I do red, blue, and white, believe it or not, for decks. Works a lot better, so it washes off a lot easier. So that goes in that far pouch there. This does have this little hook back here, these two little slots you can put things. I used to hang this pry bar back in there. Whoop, I just missed a lot, and then it started falling out. So I think the tool belt stretched out a little. You know how I mentioned earlier it stretches and stuff. Actually, this one was real. This did stretch. It wasn't just me growing with the seasons. But anyway, so that's there. This, I think it's called a DB sack. I want to say this is probably one of my favorite features of this entire tool belt situation, or not situation, but setup. Right now I just have 2 3/4 inch screws, which 2 3/4 inch interior screws are 3 inch, and then deck screws 2.5 inch and 3 inch are probably the main things that I use in construction. And so I really like these because well, for a couple reasons. One, this clip, you can just clip onto your actual belt or like on a pocket to your jeans if you're just running in to do a couple punch list items. And so I really like that feature, but it does clip right on the front here. And so if I'm doing an interior job, I can have these, and like I said, do a lot of different things. So if the next job is a deck job, I have 2 of these. Actually, I might have a couple more of these. Just take this one off. You can even, a little drawstring deal here, and close it up so all the screws don't fall out of it and cause you to be upset. So I really like that. That's probably one of my favorite features. Also, when you get toward the end and you want to fill up with more, you can take it off and take this right next to the tool belt or the screw box and put them in. You don't have to feel like you gotta bring the screw box over and try and keep, I don't know, maybe you're just more flexible than me, but I try and make things easier. I added this, I don't remember what this is called, but I can try and put links to all these things in the comments. But I use this, it's just a Bosch laser measurer, which I will say for estimating jobs and just overall using on the job site, this is a separate thing, but this, I love using this thing. This gets a ton of use. I go through a lot of batteries with this because it gets a lot of use. Anyway, we'll talk about that a different time. But that always goes right here, and then working around the back, cell phone pouch, obviously empty because my cell phone is right here. You're using, or I'm videoing with it, but that goes back there out of the way. Sometimes I like to leave it empty and leave the phone in the truck so I'm not getting bugged. Anyway, more around to the back. This is empty right now too. Like I say, I like to travel light if I can. I usually put a 35-foot tape measure back there. Mainly that's for decks. I'm not, the house I'm working on right now doesn't have 35 feet anywhere in it to need that big of a tape measure. So anyway, flipping to the other side. So this is my right side here. This is also an accessory. Not sure what it was called. Large snip thing maybe. I don't know. I use this a ton for like when I'm doing siding and I put the snips in there. It stays empty a lot of the other time, but I just leave it on the tool belt because it's light and I can put other things in it. Stabila torpedo lever. I like to keep one of those on me at all times just in case you need to check something. I like to use this measuring stick as well. Actually, it's kind of like a party foul here, but I forget the actual name for this measuring tool here. It's not a tape measure, but anyway, I like it because it's very rigid. It's hard to see the numbers, but it is a measuring tool. But I like to use this for doors and things. I can't really explain why right now without showing you, but anyway, that usually stays on me for just about everything, maybe not exterior remodels. Nail clippers, or pullers, or whatever you want to use them for. These get a lot of use too. I like them. They do go in there pretty good, but sometimes in the summer as things get a little hot and sticky, these, I don't know, I might get rid of these grips, but I haven't yet. But anyway, they're there. Also, another feature I absolutely love about this tool belt is it's got this holder right here. I don't know what other people use it for, but I use it for drill bits. I got a T25, a S2, a square bit, and then a Phillips number 2 Phillips bit as well. I went ahead and went all out and bought these. They're like 3-inch long bits. They fit in there perfectly. And then the other thing I stock in the 4th pouch or little bit holder is a 6-inch extension, which also game changer just to have these with me at all times. I absolutely love that. The hammer, whatever they call it, holster here. At first, I wasn't sure how I liked that. It got tough to get used to, but now that it's there, I mean, I've grown to really like this. If I ever, for whatever reason, switched from this tool belt, I would miss this. If you're like me and carry a hammer like all the time, this thing's always flopping and slapping around, and sometimes it catches you in places you don't like or gets caught in different things. Here, I've never had an issue, so I absolutely love that. Down here we got a utility knife. Always keep the old Stanley on you. By the way, I did buy this one specifically. I used to have one that had more grips on it, but for the same reason as the nail clippers with the grips on there, this slides in and out really easy. So anyway, that's there. Milwaukee ink saw. I go through a ton of these. This one's near the end of its life, as you can see. Keep a marker on me. Again, wasn't meant to be a promo for other things, but this Pika Dry pencils, you can buy like the different lead and stuff for them. It's got the sharpener in the end. I will never buy another Carpenter pencil or anything of that nature. This is by far the best thing I've ever had. Again, separate video, talk about that more, but that slips in right here. Moving along back on the other side, I've got this, I don't know what it's called, tool hanger, tool loop. I usually have a drill hanging off there, and then I can put another drill hanging off this if I don't have my snips in there. There are other pockets in this tool belt too, by the way, that I just, for whatever reason, haven't used. There is another slot down here in front of the bit holder. Usually I put strips of nails in there, just depends on the job I'm doing. And a little bit further around the back, there's this hammer loop. Usually I have like a rubber, it's got like the rubber and the yellow mallet ends on them. I usually keep that back here, but that's more for like trim work and stuff, so I'm not using that all the time. I did forget to mention over here, one other thing. Used to not have one of these, but this has a nice cool pouch for one. There's a name for this notepad. I don't know, you're supposed to be able to write it in the rain and everything. I've had this in here, I don't know. I don't always have to write tons of measurements down, but this thing's been with me for like probably shortly after I got this tool belt. I'm just now running to the end of the book, but it is, it's called Write in the Rain, all weather, but it fits right in this slot. This is also game changer. Can't tell you how many times I've taken a measurement and forgot what it was by the time I get to the saw. So anyway, that's kind of like your rough tour, and so now I'll give you my official review. Alright, so here is the tool belt kind of all thrown on the table. So I'll give you my honest opinion with this. But before I do that, let me back up. If you watch the previous video when I first got this, it was over a year ago, but I believe I mentioned something in there about me every, year, a couple years, needing a new tool belt because they just wear out. They break down, they rip, they fall apart, whatever it is. That may be because I buy cheap tool belts. So I can't compare a cheap tool belt to this, really. I don't think it's fair. Price-wise, this is a lot more expensive than just your basic big box store setup. But I can tell you, I have wore this tool belt by far more than any other one that I've had in the past. There were jobs you'd go on, and frankly, if I could get by without wearing a tool belt, I would, because they just were kind of uncomfortable. This thing is like, you notice when you put it on because it's heavy when you have all these tools on, but honestly, this thing has become like a part of me. You get that muscle memory down to where you put all the tools. And so comfort-wise, again, I can't compare this with another expensive tool brand or belt brand because I've not owned one. I don't, have the money to go out and buy several and just compare them all. So I can only tell you with what I've tried and what I've used. By far, comfort level, even without the suspenders, the way this thing fits and hangs is just hands down the best. Quality-wise, I can't remember which pouch it was. It's probably in that first video, but I actually had something that ripped slightly after me getting it. I believe it was like one of these pouches in here started ripping. I called Diamondback. They had me send them pictures. They sent me a new one, and I sent them the old one back. No questions asked. It was, other than, okay, there were questions asked. They asked me, what happened, or how do I think it happened, and then asked for pictures. Okay, other than that, no questions asked. They swapped it out, and that was awesome because I invested a lot in this thing, and so to have something that was going to last and they'd stand behind. So I guess that's kind of two things. Quality, again, a year's worth of decks, siding, flooring, a little bit of drywall, framing, interior remodels. I've been on roofs with this thing. I built my chicken coop with this thing. Anyway, ton of use, quality, top notch. Where there was an issue or a manufacturer flaw or anything, they totally covered it. So as far as customer service, again, top notch. As far as the negatives, I'll be honest with you, I'm not like real tech savvy, and I'm kind of one of those guys that, like, if I get something, I just like to, like, I don't know, get to work and make money. I don't like to spend a lot of time setting stuff up. Like when you buy a new miter saw or something, you need to spend time and square everything up so you have good cuts. This took some setup. It took some dialing in to see exactly where I would want stuff. And so for me, I kind of want something that's just out of the box, ready to go. This was, in a sense, but you have to adjust this to fit you so you have that comfort level, like I now have. So I guess it's a negative, but the negative really is my own issue. I just am, I don't know, that's laziness, other than I just like to work and not spend a lot of time doing stuff that doesn't really pay. But you could argue that it does pay because then you can be more efficient in your work, whatever. So anyway, comfort, price, obviously it's pretty expensive, but I mean, at the way this thing looks, I doubt I'll have to replace this anytime soon. So that being said, if this thing got stolen, which, maybe because of the price I need to insure it by itself, I'm just kidding. That's not something I would do. But if this were stolen, I would replace it probably with this exact same setup. So anyway, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll try and put links to some of these things so that you can find them on your own, because like I said, I don't remember all the specific names to these pouches. Like I said, I buy what I think I'll use and use it and get to work. I'm not up on what everything's called. But anyway, just leave a comment below if you got any questions.